What's up, guys? This is my video journal for June 8th, 2025. I just wanted to check in with you guys and say that basically things are going swell. Things are going great. You know, my body, I could lose about 80 pounds, to be super ripped, and I would look amazing, right? If I lost about 80 pounds, I'm weighing in at about 265 right now. I've lost about 15 pounds in the past 2 weeks. I don't really know how. I just been eating less. And when it comes to food and stuff, I more or less kind of just go with the flow on that, you know. People think that I'm some kind of new money fucking fag like you see on the internet a lot of times nowadays. I'm not some kind of new money fag. I'm trying to make old money. You know, I'm trying to make a lasting business. I'm not just trying to do some Shopify drop shipping fucking bullshit. And make, 10 million real quick and just exit the game. I'm trying to do this for my life. You know, it's like I'm gaining the world, but I've almost lost my mind in the process. You know, dealing with adult concepts like intuition and spiritual technologies is like it's crazy, but I'm starting to look like a lot of people who are creating long-term careers. Except I'm gonna surpass even the best of them. I've already surpassed Conor McGregor, or maybe not. Conor McGregor, but well, he was only really in the game like 10 years, and he was an athlete. It's easy to be an athlete. It's hard to sit here at the computer and build a business. I think I don't know. Conor McGregor, debatably, is one of the most successful men in the UFC. I'm one of the most successful men in business. You know, I can't say that I far surpassed him, but yeah. I mean that's a pretty big achievement right there. But you don't see the glory. You don't see me on TV, accepting a big heavyweight championship above my head. You know, you're just watching this stupid little video and you think like, "Oh, okay, well, just like you don't see the owners of a lot of businesses on TV, you know, like me personally, I don't really care about that. Glory is not my game. Glory is not my game. You know, My game is just money, providing for my family, providing for my future generations. You know, I'd like to create a long-lasting legacy where my kids and their kids and just for a long time we're going to be in this economy, you know, in the business economy, you know, maybe till the end of the world, you know, which will happen someday, probably sooner than later, you know, long lasting success that lasts, you know, 100 generations. You know, that's what I'm trying to achieve, you know. And I come from a long lineage of people who did important things and who worked hard for a living. Back when business was kind of hard to do, you know, it wasn't necessarily the barrier to entry that scared us off. It was the fact that back in the 1900s, it was a lot harder to build a business. So I so respect old money of today because back, you know, 12 generations ago, when the Rockefellers, or what was it, 4 generations ago, when the Rockefellers, you know, pioneered the oil industry, you know, I mean, that's very respectable because going into business, you know, I think is something I wouldn't have done if this was. I probably would be in business, but if it wasn't for the internet, I would never in a million years have gotten as big as I've gotten today. Maybe make a few million, you know, because money was always kind of the apple of my eye, you know. I see myself as more kind of like my grandfather. You know, my grandfather was like a working man, though. I'm not much of like a working man. You know, I work hard on my business, but also one thing that is great about a business career is one thing that is great about a business career is it gives you the chance to kind of like, if I got to use the bathroom, I'm going to go use the bathroom. You know, if I want to take 15 minutes of a break or 2 hours of a break, I'll take a little break. This is how I get to know God. Business is how I get to know God. You know, this is how I navigate my way through this crazy life. It's a crazy life. You know, the internet has pioneered a generation of entrepreneurs who, you know, are for the first time in human history, we have streamlined access to, you know, 50% of the world at our fingertips. You know, sorry for picking my nose. And I'm going to take full advantage of it. I'm going to take full advantage of that. And, you know, And I'm blessed by God. I can't pretend like I did it all by myself, but my claim is that I'm self-made because I want to, not to downplay the sacrifice that I've put in to achieve this level of success, which is minuscule in comparison to the sacrifice that a lot of the people that came before me had to put in. So yeah, I'm born in the dawn of the internet. Cell phones, or smartphones came out. I got my first smartphone when I was 18, but they had been out for like 5 or 10 years before then. I remember one of my fathers had a flip phone, that he gave me his old flip phone, and I would play this like little bounce game. It was like a keypad on the flip phone. It was like an old ass flip phone, like flip the phone, and I would play this bounce game. And life is very serious, but at the same time it's not that serious. Because everybody's got to die someday. Everybody's got to die someday. I might die like soon. I could have a heart attack right now. You never know. I could live to be 1,000. You never know. But either way, this whole advent of the internet, is providing streamlined access to marketing where you could reach 90% of the civilized world through marketing. And it's crazy. It's a lot better than it was when I was growing up, because I remember I saw this making money like scheme on TV. It's like, oh, do you want to start your own business? It'll be $30,000. This like care package of like, I saw it on it was a commercial on TV. People don't even watch TV anymore. Kids growing up nowadays, in 20 years, if a kid is born today, in 20 years, television will be like an old dated technology. And smartphones are going to be like I grew up around the innovation of smartphones, but I can't pretend like I had it bad or something. Yeah, like technology's pretty crazy, but and technology is what allows us to build businesses at a hyper speed compared to the way it was. But I think the rules have always been the same. Sacrifice, commitment, karma, sacrifice, commitment, karma, putting in the work, is like, and being dedicated and devoted to it, the way I understand it is always input equals output. Input equals output. If you put like sacrifice in one end of the equation, something is going to come out the other side, which is telling me right now that I need to be sacrificing more. I need to be sacrificing more. Everything I've already done, I would do it again, but I would not sacrifice not once my level of commitment, or not commitment, but my level of expertise, and my level of the gains that I've made in my business. I wouldn't go lose it all for like another shot at the title. I'm not Rocky Balboa. If you ever seen the movie Rocky 3, he goes and loses the heavyweight title to Clubber Lang, and then he goes and wins it back. It's like, I'm confident that I could do it again, but not the way that I did it the first time. I have my eyes set on the prize. I want to be one of the best in the world. Top 5, will happen. So yeah, I got to be putting in more sacrifice. But it's not all about pain. It's not all about putting in pain one end of the equation. It's like some people are just blessed. Some people never had it bad all their life. But I think, I don't think I know that, if you put something in one end of the equation, it's up to you what you do on the other end of that equation. It's up to you what you do on the other end of that equation. Put it to you this way. I think the education system is a great way to show like what happens with a little bit of extra effort. Just a little bit. An extra 4 years in school almost doubles your average salary. The average 4-year college graduate is making $60,000 a year right now. The average high school graduate is making like $40,000. So we're talking an extra 50% of a salary just for 4 years in college. And just this year, is like I've just now become entitled to a life of decency just as much as someone who went to college for 4 years. And I'm a college dropout, a high school flunky, but I'm devoted to my craft. I'm devoted to increasing my money. All I care about is my money and my kids. That's all I care about. I don't care about nothing else. Maybe like my health, so I could be around a long time. But I don't need a lot of garbage. Like right now, I woke up at 3 o'clock this morning. Right now I'm eating some grapes. This is the type of shit that I eat. But you see, I smoke cigars and stuff. It's a bad habit, but I can't. It's hard to not smoke cigars. It's like, the final form of the world is pretty much going to be here by the time I die. I think, like, we're nearing damn near the final form of the world. It's not going to be long, guys. In the next 250 years, we're going to see, like, the 95+% of everything that we're going to have for the rest of the history of humanity. We're going to have it in only 250 years. The best inventions, some of the best inventions have already been created. most, you know, like, until someone has a big bright idea of what something we can invent in the future, the evolution of technology. You know, the evolution of technology is taking place. You know, maybe someday there's going to be like an all-in-one. Something like a smartphone that you could just carry in your pocket. This would be something great for someone to try to work on inventing. Just like an all-in-one, something that you carry in your pocket. Like a smartphone, but is not perhaps simply a smartphone. It can literally turn into literally like fucking anything. Well, then that would spawn like, we don't want to go too deep into technology. I guess smartphones are an all-in-one. I don't know. You know, it seems to me, if you would have, you know, like, I'm in your house, I don't know, you know, a smartphone that could turn into a TV, for example. You know, a smartphone that goes like this and can turn, that goes and expands and can turn into a TV or a laptop. You know, like an all-in-one computer device. You know. Like back in fucking 1920, you know, or the 1940s, television was like the shit. So what is going to be around 100 years from now that we think is the fucking shit? Right? It's no longer going to be about swag. And one day it's not even going to be all about making money. I think money is a modern thing. You know, money is a thing of this generation, that money's not going to be around forever. You know, we're going to have people who work, but, you know, money is not going to be around forever. You know, one day all of the best things in life are going to be free. You know, it's just free. Freedom. You know. Freedom for everybody. You know. Because right now, this whole working thing is ruining families and everything else, because 90% of the jobs can be replaced with technology. You know, entrepreneurs are creating jobs to fill spots in society. And that's just not the way. You know, I think everything should be free. You know, everything you want should be free. But all the best shit, like mansions, you know, the big swimming pool, the big hot tub, like you can get a hot tub for free. You can get fucking... is like, money is kind of a modern thing that's not going to be around forever. You know, the monetary financial system is not going to be around forever. You know, there's going to be workers that have the best shit forever. but there's going to be a change in the economy where all the jobs are going to be replaced with technology. You could replace 75% of all the jobs with technology, and when that inevitably happens, when a government around the world somewhere, when America or a government around the world makes an innovative impact on the world ecosystem and says, you know what, these people are working too hard for the little that they have. There's no, if you ask me, there's no reason why someone should be working, 50 hours a week just to have a house and basic shit. I think that shit is retarded. I believe in work. I also believe that we could invent and innovate new systems of showing people how to learn life. I believe in some form of currency. It's not fucking Bitcoin. I do have a business in the crypto industry, by the way. But it's not fucking Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not going to replace the fucking dollar. And that's kind of my mission, is to make sure that we move forward into the future and provide a better life for the people of the world, but also preserve the people who have worked hard for generations to build a lasting impact on their generations and genealogy, so that they don't, go, bye-bye, is like, because even that is like, if my genealogy 50 generations from now decides to be pieces of shit, I'm not going to be supportive of their bullshit, when I'm in heaven and thinking like, these fucking kids. I'll already be thinking like, all these fucking kids. I have a firm belief in being a man of decency. Respecting my fellow man. In today's day and age, that's more so the way than the latter. Soon as you start to get cocky, that's how you know things are going to go downhill. I think everybody knows that. It's as soon as you start to get cocky, things start to go downhill. And modest is not the word. I don't know if humble is the word. Be like, I don't know what the word for it is. It is confident. To be confident and to be deadly. But to be also realizing that technically whatever one man can do, another man can do. And God is ever present in the business world. The Spirit of God is ever present all around the business world. And if I can make, 10 million bucks just sitting around the house, clicking a couple buttons on the computer every now and then to make, $500,000 whenever I want, anyone can do it. So I believe in being a person of decency. I always have. I've been told I was a sweet kid, you know. And with the advent of technology, my karma was amazing entering life at the age of 19, you know. But really, I entered life at like the age of about 10. I'd been I've been kind of doing my own thing since around the age of like 5 or 10. It's always been just me here, you know. And I'd like to create a little community on this YouTube channel, so please subscribe to my YouTube channel and like the video. I'll talk to you guys later.